Swadika. Welcome to Meet the Ambassadors channel, where you would meet all the ambassadors from all nations around the world that are based in Bangkok, Thailand. And today I will bring you to meet the ambassador of Italy. His name is His Excellency Lorenzo Galanti. Yeah, so now we're on the way to the ambassador's residence. Before that, I would like to give you a little bit of his background. Ambassador Galanti is born in Stuttgart, Germany, and then he moved to Florence, Italy to grow up and continue his studies there. And he goes to the University of Florence, majoring in political science. And then before coming to Thailand, he was based in 3 other countries, which are Syria, Senegal, and Washington, D.C. in the United States. He is married and we will meet his wife today as well. I'm really excited, Mrs. Francesca Galanti. So yeah, let's go meet him. Yeah, so now we are here at the residence of the ambassador of Italy. Let's go. So nice. Always situation. This is the ambassador Lorenzo Galanti and this is Francesca Galanti.
Very nice to meet you. And welcome to our residence.
Thank you so much for having me. And here, let's start at the beginning of the house on through the way in. Please. Thank you so much for your time for the interview. So we're gonna first start out by just a little gift giving, especially for you, Mrs. Galanti. Yep. So I know that that you did movie and television work before in terms. So I'm just gonna give a little light gifts. Maybe you can pack this back to Italy. Yeah, and I also know your daughter studied in cinematography in Rome. This is the first one here. So I'm not sure if you know him. He's Tony Jha, or Jha Phanom if we call in Thailand. So Thailand is known for the martial arts. Tony Jha, he got starred in a very big Sony Pictures Hollywood movie called Monster Hunter. So yeah, that's the first movie about Thai martial arts. Maybe you can check it out later. Yeah, this is called Tom Yam Gong. So Tom Yam Gong, like the Thai,
like
the Thai dish.
Soup, the dish.
Yes, the soup. Yes.
Yeah.
And this is for the second one. This is quite a bit old. So it came up in 1990s. So this one is called Manak Cher Phi Pop, right? It's the name of the ghost. And then she meets another ghost called Phi Pop. Yeah, and also the last one is my favorite one. So I'd like to share with you. This is called Fan Chan, which means my girl.
ตื่นได้แล้วจะนอนไปถึงไหน
7 นาฬิกา รีบมาเล่าเรียน ใจยังหมุนเวียน ถึงเรียนสับสน ชอบคิดกังวล ไม่ทนเรื่องเธอ
Yeah, if you ask any Thai, they would know this movie for sure. Yeah, you can pack this back.
We are actually watching Thai movies and Thai TV series on Netflix. So we enjoy, watching some Thai movie productions because there's so many actually. And so we look at the top 10 in Thailand. It gives us a nice key to understand,
The culture, the location.
And movie industry is very important here, I think, since quite some time, and the posters testify this. So thank you very much for that, really. Much appreciated.
Okay, so next up, we will start up with the game Have You Ever? And this game is we have this sign called I have If you have done the scenario before, you can just raise up I have, but if you haven't done it before, you can say I have never, and you can just go do it. So the question varies in terms of Italian culture and the experience you've tried in Thailand. So first up, have you ever say a foreign language, can be Thai language, that means one thing, but then you meant the other definition? Yeah, I have. I have. What was the word? Can you share? Is it in Thai or?
It's been happening quite a few times.
Often, lost count.
I guess even in English sometimes it has happened that we actually were meaning to say the opposite and the word came out wrong, because sometimes you have what we call fake friends, words that are similar in Italian and English, and but they actually mean the opposite. It has happened to us a couple of
many times. For example, in Spanish, I was asking for burro, but in Italian, I thought they have the same word in Spanish. So I thought in Italian it means butter.
Okay.
But then for them is the donkey. Couldn't possibly understand what I was asking for.
Okay, and also I'm gonna slip in some Thai tongue twisters because the audience really want to see the ambassadors speak some Thai.
Okay.
So we're gonna go with an easy one first. Okay, so this is the province of Thailand. Ranong, Rayong, Yala.
Ranong, Rayong, Yala.
Can you say it quickly?
Ranong, Rayong, Yala.
Ranong, Rayong.
Ranong, Rayong, Yala. Ranong, Yalong,
Yeah. Do you have bits in Italian? Like
Yes.
tongue twisters?
Yes, we do have.
Can you
like
share?
33 trentini entrarono a Trento, tutti e 33
It
torterellato.
doesn't have meaning, or is it?
It does have
it has meaning, or really? Okay, I wouldn't try.
That's the long one. There's shorter ones. But yeah, it's,
Sopra la panca la capra campa, sotto la panca la capra crepa.
That's all that is.
That's pretty hard.
In Thai, it's harder one, but you don't have to say it. It's like it's like so I tried that with a lot of foreign friends and they loved it. Okay, this is a harder one. Maybe you can try.
Oh no.
ชามเขียวคว่ำเช้าชามขาวคว่ำคว่
I have forgotten.
say again.
ำชามเขียวคว่ำเช้า
Sam Kyo, Kwam Chao,
ชามขาวคว่ำค่
Sham Kao, Kwam Kam.
Oh, this is really good. Oh my god.
His memory.
Wow. Yeah. Oh wow. I'm surprised. So the next question. This one is about food. So have you ever had Italian food that is not really Italian? The menu is yeah. How do you find pizza with pineapple toppings?
I was just about to mention one type of food which is not Italian, although you may think it is pizza with pineapple or with durian.
With durian?
Yes. So that's not really
What?
Italian, of course.
Okay, yeah. Oh, where did you try that?
It's
Here?
quite a challenge.
Oh.
Yeah, well, I didn't try it.
Oh, okay.
But
That's
it was
good to know.
advertised and I said, okay.
So there's
But
cheese and tomato sauce and durian?
and durian. I'm not sure about cheese, but
Oh, okay.
yes.
Just-
Of course, I think it's interesting to sometimes to blend different cuisines.
Right.
What I insist very much on is if you want to really have Italian cuisine, you should use Italian products.
Oh, I see.
And
so it's fresh and real from
Yes,
Italy.
because the history of the places they come from, there's a lot of culture behind that kind of cuisine. Very much like in
And
Thailand.
Italian industry food here is huge.
Yes,
Like huge.
There's so many Italian restaurants, and there's excellent ones, and
Well, for sure, yeah, I've tried. Really
yes,
authentic,
and they use mostly Italian products, which is what makes it so delicious. And the same goes for Thai food. You want to use Thai products to cook Thai food.
Let's just move on to the next question. This is more on a family question. So, have you ever had a call with your children at least once a week? I don't have children, so I'm just gonna say no.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, true.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
the reason I ask is because I know that Italy and Thai culture is very similar. We put family as the priority, so that you've been very supportive coming to Thailand and move to other countries.
That's right. That's right. Oh yeah.
For providing like emotional support and to support that. So in terms of living style in Italy, is the family getting smaller or is it usually big? Yeah, can you tell about like the living?
I think it's getting smaller and smaller. Also, my case, for example, when I was a child, my family was a huge family because it included also uncles, aunties, and cousins. They were my family. We met very often. We spent time together. And when something difficult or bad happened in the family, like, someone sick or dying, we really helped each other a lot. So I always felt this web of family so much, and I never felt alone. But little by little, as the old generation is disappearing, as the new generation is not able to keep the same sort of connection with the others. We still love each other, but we don't spend much time together. I haven't seen some of my cousins for years now. So it's, I think it's changing. I'm lucky to have had that sort of family. I think my generation is a bit the last one, at least in our region. I know that in southern Italy, for example, they are more able to keep this connection, this old idea of family. And I think it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Right. As for gatherings.
And there's always someone helping you in a certain situation. You never ever feel alone.
Right.
Never feel abandoned.
I'm sure your students has went to university and all, they're all grown up, but then you still very much keep in touch with them.
Well, one of our children is still here, and he's still studying. He's not at university yet, he's 15. Just some days ago, we asked our son if he would like to go back to Italy to end his school there, because otherwise he would interrupt the final 2 years that in the French system are very important. They have a final exam extended over 2 years.
Right.
And he thought about it for a while. I said, no, I'd rather stay here. So it's not only the parents, it's also the children.
So it has to go both ways.
Yeah. I think the kids, they never leave because they feel so comfortable at home. They're taken care of. They're spoiled, and they have they're free. They're free to do whatever. Sorry.
No, nothing.
I'm spoiled.
You spoiled them more than me.
I spoiled them.
Okay.
Yes.
Like confirmation.
Yeah. I'm the good cop. She's the bad cop. Usually. But then when I turn ugly, she becomes the good cop.
It's healthy to have both sides. Like lean on to one another. Next up question. This is more of a stereotype that I read about. So have you ever used your hands to talk? Communicate?
Yes. All the time.
It's not a stereotype.
It's true.
We use our hands to convey messages very much.
Is there a gesture you'd like to teach, or like perfecto? Or like
Yes, perfetto. Al bacio means really perfect. Yes, that's very nice. Or you can also. This is also perfetto. Perfect. Like a thread. Perfect.
I was guest lecturer to Children Corn University. One of the lessons were just about Italian gestures. They had so much fun because I taught them some of them, and then they had to make small scenes using the hands. I'm doing it even now.
I do it all the time, even though it doesn't mean anything.
They had a lot of fun.
Is there some hand gesture? Some of the hand gesture, like check, this one is global. Is there some gesture that is only used in Italy or like local?
This one is. What do you mean? What do you want? What?
Oh.
But it's not very kind. I mean, I wouldn't use it with a friend.
But when we were in Syria, this gesture for them meant shue shue, meaning slowly.
Or wait a moment.
Or wait a moment. Hang on. So very different meaning.
I see.
So I think
And not unpolite. But for us,
it's a little.
it's a little rude. Yes, it's a little rude. So it's quite different.
Okay. Next up is on texting, actually. So have you ever had a text fight on Twitter or Facebook. For example, you're to comment a post, or maybe you have opposing thoughts about it, and then you just start texting back each other. So I have.
Yeah.
No, I tend to calm down. I try never to respond in an aggressive way. I think I'm always soothing. I don't use Facebook or Instagram to convey personal messages. I avoid that. But it has happened to be attacked even on very...
How do you resolve the conflict? You just
say, okay,
bye.
this is your opinion, I respect it, but please respect mine.
Mine as
It is
well.
different, and thank you for expressing something like that.
It's become, I think, unavoidable to use these tools nowadays because of the kind of the size of the audience you reach, right? So the negative feedback, which even I get sometimes as an ambassador when I use social media, not very much, but sometimes I do, it doesn't mean that everybody out there is having a problem with you or hating you. So you have to react with a grain of salt and, not think that all of a sudden you are exposed to something really bad. Unfortunately, it's become a normal part of our lives.
Right.
It wouldn't probably happen if we had exchanges in person, but on these kind of platforms, it's become commonplace. Yeah, unfortunately. Some people, they like to, maybe they want to use a more aggressive tone because they have more feedback when they do. So you have to consider many factors. And
Also, it's anonymous too.
And it can be anonymous.
Sure.
And I think also as an ambassador, it's good to use social media as a means of transparency, to give an idea of what I do all day. Because people might not know what an ambassador does.
Right.
So it's useful. And then you have a great deal of online diplomacy at this point. You interact professionally with institutions, with people, counterparts, colleagues. So it's become very, very important, unavoidable, even in diplomacy. I'm more active on Facebook because I get more traction here in Thailand with Facebook.
Right.
But,
Because we are old.
Oh, yes.
Also, because Thailand is, not sure if you know, is the highest users of Facebook.
Oh, really?
Yes, in the world.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm not sure at this time, but at some point.
Mhm.
I was so amazed. We only have like 60, 70 million people. And like our usage of Facebook is crazy.
Yeah.
Is it the same with Italy or do you more? Is there another platform?
I think Instagram is
Young
becoming...
people use Instagram nowadays. Our kids say, Facebook. It's all guys. They ran away in mass from Facebook when parents started to use it. So they all veered away from Facebook.
No
and
offense.
Yeah, not suggesting anything to kids.
Okay, and next up, this is more of like extra talent question. So, have you ever won a contest and received a prize? Have never. Or
Yeah,
have you,
sort of.
sort of.
Yes,
What contest was that?
literary one.
Oh, literally.
I'm a writer, so I won a contest for
A screenplay?
yes,
a theater
and
play.
a theater production. So 2 times actually.
Oh, 2 times. Well, I was going to
But
follow up the
this-
question is that if you weren't doing something about cinematography or if you weren't a diplomat, what would you like to be? Or is there other interests that you might want to?
So for me, I've always had 2 passions, music and books. If I were not a diplomat, I would probably love to be a publisher,
Wow, that would be so easy for me.
but I could publish her books, though she already has her own. But, I'd love that, really. And before joining the Foreign Service, I was working on and off with a few publishing houses. I was very young. I was just out of the university. Second thing, music. I play guitar. So one of the best feelings in life is to play music with someone else. I used to have, to play when I was a teenager, to play in some bands.
Form a bond.
And I still dream of it at night. It's such a wonderful feeling when the music flows and everybody is playing and singing together. It's fantastic. So that's something I miss. And I started playing again recently. It's like a COVID legacy for me. I got a nice electric guitar from her, and yes.
Maybe
I'm
there's like
playing.
events, maybe Italian week events here. Maybe you can like start a band or like
Yeah, we could. Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, some Italian pop music, which is not so known, but there's a few.
The only music like Italian I really love is volare.
Volare is a masterpiece. If you look at the melody, it was composed back in the 50s, I think. And end of the 50s, Domenico Modugno. Amazing song, really. I mean, from the melodic point of view. So it was taken up, of course, in the US by people like Dean Martin and so on.
Right. Yes, a lot of covers.
Yeah, a lot of covers. But the original is fantastic.
I also go and read the lyrics. Like volare means to fly.
To fly.
Yeah.
And to fly and to sing, volare, oh, cantare. It's like, I guess it's become a stereotype for the Italians. You think of them like they're light and happy and singing all the time. Yeah, it's a love song, yes, of course.
If you were not a diplomat, I would be more I would live in Italy, or I would transfer to other countries, but permanently.
Oh, okay.
For me, it's very difficult to change country so
right.
often because I get attached
you
every
get
time.
used to it.
So it's heartbreaking to leave.
Yeah, it's Thailand.
But then I'm writing, so I have already found a new career. I mean, leaving my old job, I had to reinvent myself.
Right.
And I am teaching creative writing. I'm
Can I
organizing.
join your class?
Absolutely. Well, now here, not yet, but in the past I've done it.
Oh, wow.
Now
She
I
has
have.
a series of videos, tutorials on creative
Oh, you
writing
can
on
watch them.
YouTube.
Benvenuti al primo incontro di come superare il blocco dello scrittore. Capita a tutti quelli che si cimentano con la scrittura di incontrare dei momenti di difficoltà.
Come superare il blocco dello scrittore.
Okay.
That means how to overcome writer's block.
Oh,
And it's on how to overcome writer's block. So I love to do these things. So I would like to show you also an anthology that I have curated together with Professor Paolo Euron. And it's very nice because it's an anthology of micro stories, very, very short stories, written by Italian and Thai authors. And the idea was to bring the two cultures closer. And also we have organized a very nice event. 200 people participated.
some of the stories would be made into films as well. So
Yes.
yeah, stay tuned. Thank you.
And this almost 100 years old house, which is very Thai, as you can see from this room already,
And
but with
previously,
a few Italian ideas here and there, which we will see later on. And this beautiful wooden ark. And this is obviously the place where we entertain and where our son plays the piano. And from here, we go to the dining rooms. Is the larger dining hall for up to 20, 22 people. What we do is we also host ceremonies here. I celebrated a wedding here. Yes, because of course we can remove the table, we can put all the chairs, and we host also a number of press conferences here. It's a very versatile space. This is clearly an addition from the original nucleus of the house. Some pictures of Florence which is where we both come from. We brought this from Italy. This is the church of Saint Lorenzo, my name by chance.
Oh, okay.
But it's one of the big important Renaissance cathedrals in Florence.
Florence again. Two famous bridges in Florence.
This is a. This is Italian.
Yeah, I saw it.
They're famous now.
Yeah.
Contemporary artist who does a lot of these. This is my office. This is where I work from home. Been working a lot from here last year, springtime, and right now as well. This is a very cozy room, very nice atmosphere. I love it. I love to spend time here.
So we're now on the second floor of the house.
And this is the view from upstairs.
And I have two studios. One is here, where I work. I love this room very much.
On the other house too, you can hear the squirrels and the birds on the roof. Yeah.
It's very small. It has a nice view on the garden.
We can go to the swimming pool. It's great on weekends. Nice to live in an old house. It has a lot of, like you say, it's very homey. It has a lot of history and a lot of privacy as well. You know? Sometimes we think about condos. They're great. The view is amazing. There's a lot of light. But all in all, personally, I prefer this so much.
Yes. The sound, the noise of the cities.
Oh, it
Now
got
it's far
cancelled.
away.
Yeah, it got cancelled by the
It's
birds.
by all the birds, and so it's like it's really an oasis. Like my husband said, we're very happy to live here.
So now we're here with the ambassador Galanti, and now we're doing the Q&A session. So this is from an Antache who just started his career. What is the main qualities of becoming ambassador? Can you maybe just give 3 words or like adjectives or however you want to describe?
I think that you have to understand your counterpart. At the same time, being a diplomat is not about giving in meaning that you have to stand up for your positions and your agenda, of course.
Right.
So I think that the added value of a diplomat should be the ability to convey messages in the right way to the counterparts or counterparts in a multilateral setting. I think that the ability to understand how to communicate is quite key in our job, because with all the globalization and the social media platforms and the English being very widespread, but still, and this is something I feel in Asia very much, but it was the case also in the Middle East and even in Washington DC, where I served a few years ago. Cultures differ,
Right.
and the way people communicate is quite different. You can have high context communication, meaning few words but a lot of gesticulation and things that you have to infer from the context, and low context where you speak everything out very frankly. You have to adjust to that to make sure that your message goes through. And this is true on the media, but it's true also in person-to-person communication. I think that's the gist of our job.
Key. And also you mentioned a bit that you also served in 3 countries before, which is Syria, Senegal and
Right.
Washington D.C. in the United States. How is communication different or similar to how Italians would communicate?
Yeah,
Matt.
the way of communicating is differs a lot from continent to continent,
Right.
from country to country.
Right.
I've read books where you basically can align all nations. To one extreme, you probably have
Are we reading the same book? It's a yellow book with
the culture map.
Yeah, culture map.
That's one of it. Yes, it's great.
Great.
Yeah.
I found that very interesting on
Yeah.
how one country would, they rate it as in terms of aggressive and passiveness.
Also,
I
yeah.
feel like there's a more nuanced word to it, but yeah, you can continue on this different spectrum that each country is
Yes.
on.
So much of it is about how much you want to sugarcoat your message, for example.
Yeah.
And you go from one extreme, which would be, I think, the Anglo-Saxon American culture, where
Right,
there's
right.
not much of a sugarcoating.
Right.
And on the other end, you have probably the Asian, Japanese version of the Asian
Right, right.
way of communicating, which is very sugar-coated in terms of
Indirect, yeah.
very indirect.
Yeah.
The message is hidden somewhere, but
You
if
have
you're a
to
good
decipher.
listener, you have to decipher and you have to understand. So that's important. Then the book also goes describing how, for example, you manage your multinational staff at the office, and how you should speak to them, and how you should encourage them or not. And yeah, it's quite a challenge to work with
Right.
different people from different cultures. But it's
And
very
it's
interesting.
also a charm to when you get to achieve and they actually get the message you're trying to reach out to them.
Yeah.
So yes, please read that book to the person who's asking this question. It's really important. It's very
And there's another book, if I may
Yes,
recommend it.
please.
It's called The Geography of Thought.
Okay.
It's a book by an American professor. It's published in 2003, and that's also a very, very worth
so
reading
it's more like
book.
a research book, or is it like
It's pretty much like the other one,
Electoral.
but with research, with
I see.
experimentation,
I see.
study groups.
it's
Quite
a
interesting.
fun read? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next question. I guess it's more of like a follow-up from that question. What is the most rewarding in being an ambassador throughout your experience in many countries?
I think the most rewarding part for me in my job is when I can be useful, when I can help. By this, I mean helping, for example, Italian companies wanting to do business in the country where I'm accredited. In this case, it would be
Right.
Thailand.
Right.
If they're successful, this
Happy.
it's very rewarding for me. Another point would be to attract, for example, investment from Thailand to Italy, and we'll see that the investment is successful. But also in the consular work, I like to help people who have problems, because that's why we're here for, right?
Right.
That's what we're here for, to help people who have problems. Now, in a country like Thailand, where we have, in normal times, pre-COVID times, we would have like 170,000 tourists a year.
Right.
You have to be ready to deal with, unfortunately, some tragedies or some minor problems, but which can become bigger if you don't
Push it
Yes,
through.
really
And
intervene.
also there's families living here. Those are
Yes,
Italians.
and then there's
Yeah.
a large Italian community,
Yeah.
and so I think it is our role and our duty, and also our pleasure to try and be helpful as much as we can.
Actually, trading that into the next question, you also accredited to Laos and Cambodia
Correct.
as well. So this is more on the economics questions. Let's just speak pre-COVID. How does the trade dynamic works between Thai and Laos and Cambodia? The trade between Italy and these three countries.
Well, let me speak about
Yeah.
ASEAN first.
Yes.
ASEAN, 10 countries. I'm, let's say, in charge of 3 in this case, or accredited in 3, which is almost 1/3 of the membership. And Italy has been looking at raising its profile in ASEAN a lot. And recently, in September last year, our candidature to become development partner of ASEAN was accepted by all member states, which is a major development for us. We thank all member states for that. and we are particularly proud to be able to broaden our footprint here. Looking at trade, for example, with Thailand, our first agreement on trade dates back to 1868.
Wow.
So 152 years ago, 53 at this point.
And you just celebrate the 150 years.
Yes. When I arrived, the year when I
Yeah.
arrived here. Our trade relations have been immensely improving since then. Last year, pre-COVID, 2019, pre-COVID, our trade exchange in goods was a little more than 3 billion euro, which is not bad.
Wow.
There is, of course, we felt at the time that there was room for improvement because the trade, let's say, it's quite balanced both ways, and it's across the board in terms of products.
Different. Oh. And sectors as well.
Yes,
in
and
terms of
sectors.
trade,
A large part of that is machinery, industrial machinery from Italy to Thailand, electrical equipment, for example, from Thailand to Italy, food, both ways, food and drinks, and then
Clothing for sure.
yes,
The-
fashion, clothing,
Especially
it's very important,
high-end
accessories,
luxury brands.
high-end luxury
Yeah.
brands, and then vehicles, cars, also both ways,
Right.
because you have Italian, for example, Italian luxury sports cars, brands like Lamborghini or Maserati or Ferrari. But then a lot of automobile industry from Thailand that goes to Italy. And then there's trucks as well, Iveco and so on from Italy. And
So it has been growing.
agricultural machinery. So it's really across the board. It's quite interesting. And that's good if you have a very diverse kind of export or trade
Right.
relation that gives more room for further improvement. It's not a one item kind of relationship.
What are the plans or way that we can accelerate the growth rates between the countries, Thailand and Italy?
One of the things we have to realize and factor in our strategies is how much the online business has grown. So e-commerce has become strategic. We
Right.
have to try and work on becoming more present on marketplaces, e-commerce platforms.
Right.
And that's exactly what we're doing with the embassy and the Italian Trade Agency here. Make sure that Italian products are present in the existing marketplaces,
I
in
see,
the
I
existing
see.
platforms. So also in the brick and mortar department
The
stores,
Traditional.
traditional ones, that's very important. And that's something we're working on with the major groups here in Thailand. But the e-commerce has definitely become paramount. Of course, food and fashion would be the most interesting
Liquidate,
products
yeah.
to be sold on that kind of platforms. Of course, COVID has slowed down this process a bit, but it will come back, especially because also in the production phase, the 4.0 industry, the digital
Digital.
component has become paramount, also for small and medium enterprises. And so I think there'll be increased demand for that as well. And this will benefit our trade relations ultimately.
So now we're moving on to events organized by the embassy. So I see there was like an Italian Cuisine Week, which is organized previous month, an Italian festival. Is there other events to hold or to look forward to in 2021? And feel free to share with our audience, and they can, maybe participate.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Actually, we have a yearly program which is called the Italian Festival in Thailand, which is now in 2021 at its 16th edition. And this includes many activities. One would be the Italian Cuisine Week, which usually takes place in November. It's a worldwide initiative. So we are partnering with local Italian restaurants, with food importers, and sometimes we have chefs from Italy coming in, and a number of other initiatives.
So it's happened all throughout the year. So
The festival happens throughout the year. So the food week, the cuisine week is in November. We have the week of Italian language in October. We have the Italian Design Day in March, where we organize a number of initiatives. Last year it was a webinar for obvious reasons.
webinar.
We might look at something similar this year.
I see.
We have the week of contemporary art And last year we participated in the Bangkok Art Biennale with two Italian artists who have their installations here in Bangkok for the public to visit. And then we have the Italian Film Festival, which also usually takes place in May. Last year it took place in October because of COVID. October was a good month, we could hold it in person. And it was quite successful. It was dedicated to the 100 years of Federico Fellini, the Italian movie maker. Well, this year, actually. We're looking at the new film festival, probably in May, June. So we're still working on our program, and we have to understand what will be feasible in person, what will have to be online initiatives. What we usually do is we have a number of musical events, jazz music, classical music. We work a lot with the Thailand Symphony Orchestra. Thailand Philharmonic Orchestra, the TPO. We support Italian soloists who come and perform with the Thailand Philharmonic Orchestra at the Prince Mahinon Hall. And there's an Italian conductor, Maestro Alfonso Scarano, who is here for part of the year and conducts the TPO. And usually we support the organization of concerts with Italian soloists. So we will try to do it this year as well.
Tying in nicely, which is the last question, on the entertainment side, you touched a bit on the movie itself, the arts, the music. Who is your favorite Italian artist or singer or musicians? Have you met the person in person yet?
I would say, well, one of my favorite artists is Lucio Dalla.
C'è una casetta piccola così, con tante finestrelle colorate, e una donnina piccola così, con due occhi grandi per guardare.
Lucio Dalla is a composer, singer, very talented musician, very creative. He's been active throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. So a long career. Unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years ago. I saw him live a couple of times. I have never met him in person, just enjoyed his music from the audience. But I admire his enormous musical talent and his poetry in the lyrics. He's one of them. Then there's others which I like a lot. Franco Battiato.
E gira tutto intorno alla stanza mentre si danza.
He was an innovator. He's not very active anymore, but he used to be in the late 80s, 90s. He used to be very popular. Also, very interesting lyrics. He's from Sicily, very smart and musically speaking, very innovative. And the third one I would mention is Edoardo Bennato.
Tu non sei un sogno, tu sei.
He's more of a Bob Dylan kind of type, but also inclined to some rock and roll, but with strong Italian, with an American influx, but strong Italian roots, and also his lyrics are wonderful.
And in terms of movie, I just want to mention a bit because we talked a little bit on movies. Cine Panettone, is that how to read? Cine Panettone.
Cine Panettone. Yes.
Cine Panettone, which comes out during Christmas and all. And there's another famous film recently that is worldwide called Call Me by Your Name.
Right.
Or Chiamami col tuo nome. Is that how I
Chiamami con il tuo nome.
Col tuo
Yes.
nome. Which filmed in Italy, very, very beautiful scenery, and the director is also Italian.
Italian.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We screened the movie actually here in my residence in the garden in framework of the European Film Festival in December 2020. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
2019.
19.
Sorry.
So that has really influenced. Some of the audience might already watch. So yeah, if anyone hasn't watched it yet, so yeah, be sure to check it out. Call me by your name, or in Italian.
Chiamami col tuo nome.
Okay. Yeah. So that is all for Q&A. We stay tuned for the next episode of whom we will visit next. And yeah, we're just gonna end this with a Y. Then release COVID. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye. Ciao. Ciao.
Been happening quite a few
Okay,
times.
often. Lost count.
I guess even in English sometimes
Yeah.
it has happened that we actually were meaning to say the opposite
Right.
and
Right,
word
opposite
came out,
meaning.
come out wrong, because sometimes you have what we call fake friends, words that are similar in Italian and English, and if you but they
YES Media.
Subscribe.